Your plan of action for setting your pricing. First of all, do your research, create your log sheet, set a timer, and start your research without getting distracted by anything other than the pricing information. Then complete your income and outgoing sheet. This is maybe a little bit of a snooze fest, sorry, but it is really important. There is absolutely no way that you can be confident in your pricing until you are 100% sure, totally concrete, that your earnings will cover all your outgoings. I can't stress this enough. I promise you, yoga teacher, you need to do this. And then take the information from your research, from your income and outgoing sheet, and compare them. Will the price that you've set you up to pay your bills, feed yourself, and have some left over? If so, amazing, you are done. If not, you need to teach more or put your price up, or both.